Welcome everyone to the spring advising session for the fall semester of 2020. As you are aware, because of the coronavirus, the university has had to take extreme measures and we will no longer be having face-to-face meetings for at least a limited time during the spring semester. This unfortunately has fallen during the advising session. So what we're going to try to do is to cover as much advising information as we can online, and then we will provide additional advising as needed for students, either through a Google chat room, through email, or through phone. My hope is through this advising session that we will cover as much information as we can. We will also have the email sent out that will have your advising code that will allow you to register for the fall semester. Please be aware that we do not know when your advising windows open up. You need to log into the UNC Genie account, go to the registration section, and then check when your individual advising and registration window session opens up. We do not know when your registration window opens up. It is usually conditional on the number of credit hours you have as far as seniors, juniors, freshmen, and sophomore when you're able to register. So as we proceed forward, please make sure to hit the play button for each individual slide, and I will try to walk you through as much advising information as I can, and hopefully we can cover all the information that we need to cover. And if we can't cover everything during this slide session, then we will try to be accessible so we can cover information for you in greater detail. One of the main things I really want students to try to be aware of is that you must take responsibility for your education. We have around 400 students in the program, and we try to provide as adequate advising as we can. We cannot cover all the bases for every student. What that means is that ultimately you are going to have to take responsibility for your education, and that means that you have to orient yourself to UNC Genie. You have to orient yourself to the degree works. You have to check to make sure how many credit hours you are currently enrolled in. You have to check to see how many credit hours you need to graduate. You need to check to make sure that you have all the general education courses requirement needed and taken in a timely manner, and that you have all the social work courses that you need. And of course, if you are unable to get into social work courses, you need to let us know. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is your responsibility for your education. So we need to kind of reinforce that although UNC Genie and the degree works can be sometimes cumbersome to navigate, you really do need to take time to orient yourself to that, because everything on there that you need to know will be listed. It tells you the number of credit hours you need to graduate. It tells you the number of credit hours that you have. You sometimes will get kind of confused because you'll see boxes that are checked that lets you know that you have completed certain courses. So you will see all these checked boxes and you think that you've completed all the requirements, and you may miss one or two requirements. So you need to make sure that you really scrutinize the degree works and take full responsibility for your education and making sure that you cover all the bases that you need to cover. As noted, you need to check and ensure that you have enough hours to graduate. For some of you, it will be 122 hours, and for some of you, it will be 120 hours to graduate. This is listed towards the top right side of Degree Works in UNC Genie. You will see two numbers towards the top. One will have the number of semester hours you need to graduate. This really depends on when you transferred in or when you enrolled at UNCG in the beginning. So for some of you, it will be 122. For some of you, it will be 120. The number that is under the number of credit hours you need to graduate is the number of hours that you have completed and are currently enrolled in. So when you start to look at degree works, you look towards the top right, you'll see an area that has your grade point average. You look down just a little bit and towards the right, and it's sometimes hard to find, you have to look really closely. It'll have whether you have 122 hours or 120 hours to graduate, and the number right below that is the number of hours that you have completed and are enrolled in. So what that means is if you are taking 12 hours in this semester, that will be calculated in the number of hours that you've completed and enrolled in. It's very important to pay attention to this number because I often will have students come up last semester and they are short 1, 2, 3 semester hours. They're unsure how this happened, and you just have to pay attention to this each semester. Keep an eye on that. Calculate in your head how many semester hours you need to take each semester to make sure that by the time you get to the end, your last semester, you have the number of hours needed to graduate on time. So we're going to be covering several slides, and what you can do is if you are not a senior, you can move forward, but we're going to cover slides for seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. So if you're not at the status right now where you need to be worried about going in the field in your senior year, then you can skip ahead to the junior slide or the sophomore slide or wherever your class standing is right now. For seniors, these are students who are currently been accepted in the social work major, have a 2.5 GPA. You need to maintain that 2.5 GPA throughout your academic career from here on out till you graduate. You need to have completed, of course, Social Work 215, 310, 311, and should be currently enrolled in Social Work 315, Social Work 325, and Social Work 351. That 315 is our diversity class, 325 is our research methods class, and 351 is our professional skills class. Now, as you will notice, the university requires 2 writing and 2 speaking intensive courses. Our professional skills class is a speaking intensive course, and our research methods class is a writing intensive course. So what that means is you have completed, hopefully, all the writing and speaking intensive courses that you need up to this point. You should have taken a writing and speaking intensive course for the general education courses, and then the writing and speaking intensive courses in the social work program should cover the other 2. So you should have the 2 writing and 2 speaking intensive courses for the social work major completed. So as you move forward into the fall semester, what you need to do is you need to register for Social Work 411, which is our Methods 1 course, Social Work 413, and Social Work 415, which is our Field and Seminar section courses. You must register for all 3 of these courses at the same time. They are co-requisites. So what you need to do is you need to log into UNC Genie, go to the registration section of UNC Genie, and then go to the drop add section. Once you go to the drop add section and enter your advising code, you will come up to an area that has blocks in them, and you are to enter the CRN code, the course registration code, for 411, 413, and 415 at the same time. So you'll enter them in the blocks and you'll click submit, and that should register you for all 3 classes. They won't let you register for one of the classes or the others because all 3 of these courses are co-requisites. So you need to make sure you register for all 3 of them at the same time, which means you also need to make sure that these classes work with your schedule and that ensure that they're not competing with any other classes that you need to take your senior year. Generally, we would like to try to get students to get into Professor Thull's section of field and seminar, and then he can work to disseminate you into the correct field and seminar courses. Just to be aware, the Social Work 411, which is our Methods 1 course, the course that you sign up with and the professor you sign up with will be the professor teaching the class. Social Work 413 and 415, which is the field and seminar course, you're going to be assigned those courses when you get your field assignment, and you'll find out who is going to be your field liaison and the seminar course in the beginning of the fall semester. So don't worry if 1 or 2 of those sections are filled up. you're not going to necessarily get the person that you're registering for. So you just need to make sure that you get into the open section of 413 and 415. But the most important thing is that you get into 411, 413, and 415 at the same time. Now, some of you I have worked with where you may have taken a peace and conflict studies course like conflict and culture, and we're to count it towards the diversity class. So what will happen is you may try to register for these 3 courses and you'll get an error. You need to let us know because we need to do an override to get you in the course that you need to be in. So don't freak out if that happens. It happens sometimes. Don't freak out if the courses are full. We are to ensure that you are to be in these classes. If you are to be in field your senior year, we can get you in these classes all the way up to the beginning of the fall semester. So I know some of you kind of will be trying to get in and it won't be working and you're going to kind of freak out a little bit, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. We will get you in these courses. So if you have completed 315, or at least are in 315, 325, and 351, you should be able to register for 411, 413, and 415. If for whatever reason we've taken a research methods course from another department or a diversity course from another department, we may have to work with you individually to do an override to get you in these courses. So we'll kind of quickly walk you through this. As I noted, for seniors, you need to log into UNCG. You need to go to the registration section. So when you log into UNCG, this is where you will see the top registration section. You need to click that to go to the registration section. Once you log into the registration section, you look down, you go to the second one down, it says add drop classes. So you need to click the add drop classes. And then just to reiterate, you need to enter the CRN number for social work 411, 413, and 415 at the same time in the boxes to add these 3 courses for the fall semester. Okay, for juniors. So for juniors, you must complete social work 215 before you take social work 310 and 311. So what that means is if you've taken social work 215 over this past academic year, or if you plan to take it this summer, then you can take social work 310 and 311 in the fall. You can register for social work 215 right now if you want to take it this summer. So what will happen is you will want to be in social work 215 this summer if you haven't taken it and are wanting to get into social work 310 and 311. The advising code for summer session is always 65. So 555 555 is always the advising code for summer sessions. So you can log on right now, go into the registration section and register for social work 215 for the summer. Social work 215 will generally fill up, and once it gets full, we usually don't go over capacity. So if you're at a point where you feel like you can take 215 this summer and need to be in 310, 311 in the fall, you will want to go ahead and log in and try to register for social work 215 right now. So what will happen is you will have to have completed social work 215 before you can stay in 310, 311. Social work 310 and 311 are only offered in the fall semester, and you must be in both of these courses before you are able to register for social work 315, 325, 351, which are only offered in the spring semester. And then, of course, in the spring semester, you're supposed to be registered for 315, 325, and 351. You also need to make sure, and it's essential and vital during the junior year, that you are completing your general education requirement courses. They must be completed before you're entered a field placement during your senior year. So what that means is you're going to be in social work 310, 311 in the fall. You're going to be working on these general education courses over the junior year and try to have them completed. Every now and then, you may have 1 or 2 general education courses that you need to complete, and we will allow you to do that if you complete them over the summer session next year, but it has to be completed before you enter the field. We need to have you have those general education courses completed before you enter the field. There are also winter session courses options that are open. Those open up in the fall when the spring semester registration window opens up. So during the spring semester, when we do advising, we can look at the winter session courses. And for those students who are kind of lagging behind in one or two general education courses, you can take them during the winter session. But you really want to ensure that in the junior year that you are taking care of those general education courses. And of course, we'll go over this in the future in one of these other slides. But I would really like for students to try to look at how to maximize their general education requirements so that you're taking maybe a cultural and diversity elective that counts for a global or global non-Western and maybe a global literature. But for juniors who have been in 215 or in 215 now or plan to take 215 in the summer, just remember you need to be in social work 310 and 311 in the fall, so you need to be in both of those. If they are full, you need to let us know because we need to get you in those courses, because if you miss one, it's going to put you behind another year. And for the juniors who will be in 310 and 311 in the fall semester, you will be looking at applying to the social work major on December the 7th of this year. So for freshmen and sophomores, you need to continue to focus on your general education courses. As we said before, you must have them completed before you enter your field placement your senior year. Sophomores, you must take, we really strongly encourage you to take Social Work 215, Introduction to Social Work, sometime your sophomore year. We really kind of discourage freshmen to take it. I know that as a freshman, you're probably really excited. You want to get in Social Work 215. But usually we would like for sophomores to take that courses and not freshmen. So sophomores, we really need you to look at taking Social Work 215, Introduction to Social Work, sometime your sophomore year. If this course is also full, you need to let us know because we can try to get you in this course. You cannot take Social Work 310, 311 until you complete Social Work 215. So what you will want to do your freshman sophomore year is not only are you going to be mindful and taking your general education courses, but you want to make sure you take Social Work 215, because if you don't complete it and you're going into your junior year, you're not going to be able to take the upper level courses or get in Social Work 310, 311. So for freshmen, sophomores, continue to focus on general education courses and take Social Work 215 sometime your sophomore year. So overrides, this is really important, okay? I cannot do overrides for other academic departments, such as Spanish, American Sign Language, sociology. So if you're wanting to get into a class in another department, that class is full, do not email me asking if I can get you in that class. You will need to either contact the professor of that particular class or representative in that department, such as the undergraduate director of the department that you're trying to get into. I can only do override courses for the social work program. So what that means is you've taken 215, 310 and 311 are full. I have the authority to do an override to get you into 310, 311. I do not have the authority to get you in an economics course or a sociology course or a Spanish course. Invariably, this happens every semester. A student will email me and say, hey, this psychology course is full. Can you get me into it? No, I can't. And I'll send you a snippy little email back to let you know that. So just be aware that I can only do overrides to get you into social work classes. I cannot get you into other classes and other programs or departments. And as noted for juniors, you must be enrolled in social work 310, 311 in the fall. If these are full, I can do overrides to get you in those courses, just not courses in other departments. Okay, so general education requirements. This is one of the things that I like to do this in person in the computer lab because I can walk you through this. So this is going to really require, since we're unable to meet, I can try to help walk students through this. Even though the university is not having classes, if you absolutely essentially need to meet with us individually to kind of help walk you through this, we will do this. Just understand that we have limited capacity to do this with all the students. And this is really an opportunity going back to taking responsibility for your education, where you really need to learn the system, play around with the system. So, I like to kind of pull it up on the overhead and kind of walk students through it. So you're going to have to kind of play around with this, and if you have any glitches, you run any problems, just let us know. We will try to work with you through these. So for general education requirements, I really encourage students to maximize your general education requirements. So what I tell students, and these are a lot of letters, I know they get overwhelming, to consider a GLT, GFA, or GPR course as also a GL or GN. What that means is the university expects you to have a breadth and knowledge of general education liberal arts courses. So when you see a G in front of these courses, that means general. An LT is a literature. An FA is a fine arts. A PR is a philosophy and religion course. A GL is a global. A GN is a global non-Western. So what they're really trying to do is trying to encourage you to have a broad liberal arts education for the first couple of years. For those students who have gotten an associate's degree in arts, you've done the same thing at a community college, you're transferring in, you've got all your general education courses met. So if you are creative in how you look for these courses, and this is just an example on this slide for browsing courses, because as you can see there, I have a writing intensive that's written in. So you can either search courses through subject, or you can search through categories and attributes. The categories and attributes are the GL, the GN, the GFA. So I'll often encourage students to look at trying to find a course that's maybe like a general literature course that's also a global or global non-Western course. Because what that will do is that will help you get a couple of general education courses with just one course. Sometimes if you're real creative, if you're very patient, you kind of dig through this system, it's not always easy to dig through, then you're able to find courses that may even meet 3 general education requirements. I've had students who have found courses that meet 4 general education requirements. I'll talk about this a little bit later. It would be a course that I would count as a cultural and diversity elective. It would be a course that would count for a GL or GN, which is a global non-Western. It would be a course that would potentially be a writing intensive course, and a course that would be a general literature course. They're rare. They're very hard to find. Usually they are classified under the freshman seminar courses, but sometimes you can find them. But generally, if you can find a general education course that meets 2 requirements, that works for me. If you can't, don't worry about it. The semesters are structured, and the academic calendar are structured so that you take at least 12 to 15 semester hours each semester, preferably 15. You're going to get all your general education courses met. But the more that you can kind of double up on those general education courses, the better off you are in getting these general education courses done. So this slide is a little bit dated. I need to update it at some point. So as you look at this slide now, it's a little bit different when you're looking at browsing courses, in that the general education listing should be on this. They were initially, they took them off, and now they've put them back on. So as you can tell, if a course is full, it'll have this kind of a red warning with an exclamation point, let you know that the course is full. If you click on the course itself, it'll pop up and it'll give you some information about that particular course. So here's an example where you've clicked a course and this box pops open, and up at the top you see it has the CRN number that lets you know what the course registration number is, and then it has class detail, course description, notes, categories and attributes that will tell you what general education requirements will meet. The restrictions and the co-requisites and prerequisites are one of the 3 things that you would want to look at. Some courses have restrictions. There are some courses that are specifically designed for online degree seeking students. And from my understanding, you are unable to get into those courses unless you are specifically an online degree seeking student. So you may see a really interesting course and you're like, oh, this course is great, it's online, but it has a restriction for only degree online seeking students. Some of these courses have restrictions because they're in honors college, or they have prerequisites or co-requisites. So you have to kind of check these courses to make sure that you meet all the requirements for them so that you can get into the course. And this here is an example where you have clicked the categories and attributes, and you can see this one course. It's religion, ritual arts, poetry. It's a religious studies course. It is a GPR course, which is a philosophy and religion course, and a writing intensive course. Now, this is just an example. This was a course that was probably offered a couple of years ago, but this is just an example of a course that would meet 2 general education requirements. So if you have a GPR requirement and you need that other writing intensive requirement, this would be a pretty good course to try to get into, because then it'll meet 2 of the general education requirements. Once you get 1 writing and 1 speaking intensive course done, you don't have to worry about that. The other writing and speaking intensive course is wrapped up in the major like I talked about earlier. So it's kind of nice to go ahead and get those writing and speaking intensive courses out of the way. You get 1 writing, 1 speaking intensive course done, you're good to go. The other writing and speaking intensive course will be caught up in the major. Now, as I've noted, I've been somewhat repetitive with this, but these are things that I think that students really need to kind of remember. You only need 2 writing and 2 speaking intensive courses. The social work major has 1 writing intensive course, research methods, and 1 speaking intensive course, professional skills, included in the major. So you only need to be concerned about taking 1 of each of these outside the major. So taking 1 of each of the university and taking the required courses in social work major will give you the 2 writing and 2 speaking in courses you need to graduate. So math. If you decide to take Statistics 108, this will meet the general math requirement for the university and the stats requirement for the social work major. If you are not comfortable with the idea of taking Stats 108, you can take Social Work 250, which is our stats-based social work course. It's a data analysis course, but it does not meet the general math requirement for the university. So for the students who are not as comfortable with math, what I generally encourage you to do is to take Social Work 250 and then take Math 112, which is the topics of math. That is a math designed for liberal arts students. Don't confuse that with Math 115, which is college algebra, which is a lot more rigorous and intensive math course. Math 112 is not going to be an easy course, but it is a course designed for liberal arts majors. So if you decide you do not want to take Stats 108, which would meet the university requirement and the social work requirement for stats and data analysis, I would strongly encourage you to take Math 112, topics of math, and then take Social Work 250 to meet the stats-based, data analysis base for the social work requirement. Most students generally take Social Work 250 spring semester junior year while they're taking research methods, but you can take Social Work 250 before that. The only prerequisite for Social Work 250 is Social Work 215, so you will need to complete Social Work 215 first, and then you can take Social Work 250, but most students generally take that while they're taking research methods. If you are working on a double major in psychology or sociology, you want to maybe communicate to me, because psychology and sociology both require you to take a data analysis course, and so we will count that data analysis course towards ours. Otherwise, you will either want to take Stats 108 or take Math 112, topics of mathematics, and Social Work 250. So as you orient yourself to degree works, you will notice if you have come in, transferred in without an Associates of Arts degree, or if you're here as a freshman, you're going to have the list of general education courses requirements listed at the top of degree works. And then on the second half of degree works will be the social work requirements. And then right below that will be a handful of courses which are called our cognate courses, which are psychology, sociology, economics, psychology, and biology. And then right below that, there'll be cultural and diversity elective courses. Now you have a choice. You can take a foreign language at the elementary level, which is generally Spanish 101, 102, or French 101, 102. The college in arts and science requires students to have a foreign language at the intermediate level. You are in the School of Health and Human Sciences, and so you only need a foreign language requirement at the elementary level. If you decide you do not want to take a foreign language at the elementary level, you have a choice of taking cultural and diversity elective courses. Now, when you look towards the bottom of degree works and you see the cultural and diversity elective section, there's a list of courses that you can choose from. Those courses are not extensive. What that means is we will count other courses to count for the cultural and diversity electives. What happens is we often have to go through a curriculum committee to get a course approved to be listed in the cultural and diversity electives. That can sometimes take a year to a year and a half to get that done. So what we've done is we've tried to populate that list with as many courses as we can. Some courses are offered maybe only once every couple of years that would meet the cultural and diversity elective requirement. And so we will work with you if you find a course that you think would fit in that cultural and diversity elective. Of course, an example I give here is a non-Western English course, non-Western literature, post-colonial development. This is not listed in the cultural and diversity electives, but since it is a post-colonial non-Western course, we will consider it for the cultural and diversity elective. What's interesting about these courses is often they will meet the GN, the global non-Western, and the GL, the global component. So what I'm trying to say to you is that if you find a course that's in a GL or GN section, and you would like that course to potentially count towards your cultural and diversity elective, I am willing to work with you to do that. If you want to take those courses within the cultural and diversity elective, that's perfectly fine also. So you have that kind of choice there. So we're trying to give you a little bit more autonomy in the courses that you can take and not restrict you to just what's on the degree works. So just a reminder, you can take a year of elementary foreign language, or you can take 2 cultural and diversity electives. Now, the university requirement for students coming in is that you either take a year of foreign language or 2 cultural and diversity elective courses. For some of our students who have transferred in with an associate's degree, or you've taken courses at another institution, if you've only taken 1 semester of a foreign language, it may have been 2 or 3 years ago, we're not going to force you to take another foreign language course to try to make up for that. So what we will do is we have to do what's called a curriculum modification form. So what that means is if you've taken Spanish 101, you look at your degree works, it's listed down there at the bottom towards the cultural and diversity elective. I will have to do a curriculum modification where you take a cultural and diversity elective when we count that Spanish and cultural and diversity elective course. So it also gives you a little bit more options. So as I noted, cultural and diversity electives are really good courses to maximize your general education requirements, i.e. that means meeting multiple general requirements. So if you look, the religion courses such as Japanese religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, all these courses will meet the cultural and diversity elective for social work, and they will meet the GPR, which is the philosophy and religion course, and the GN requirement for the university. So these are 3 general education requirements. So there are also courses in women and gender studies, anthropology, English, and peace and conflict studies that will meet the cultural and diversity elective requirement and also some of the general education requirements. But generally, the religion courses are the ones that really kind of maximize, especially the non-Western religions, because they meet a cultural and diversity elective course, they meet a GLGN course, and they will also meet the GPR requirement. What happens, and you look through religion courses, is sometimes they will offer a course like a course on the Quran, or they'll offer a course on feminism and Judaism. So those are not going to be listed in the cultural and diversity electives because these are courses that are offered maybe once every couple of years, and we're just not going to go through all the stuff that we have to go through to get them through curriculum committee, and it's just going to make that list really long. So when you're looking through the religion courses and you see a course of like the Quran or Islam in the modern world or something like that, those are courses that you can say, hey, shoot me an email, like, I think I'm going to take this course. Most likely, I am going to count it as a cultural and diversity elective. It will also meet a GLGN requirement and most likely meet a GPR requirement. So what I'm really trying to reinforce to you, don't box yourself in. If you see a course that meets a couple of general education requirements, shoot me an email. Try to reach out to me at Professor Thole. Say, hey, do you think this course will count? Generally, we will be okay with it. What we have to do eventually is a curriculum modification form. So you can register for the course. It's not going to show up on DegreeWorks as meaning cultural and diversity elective right away, but you come back to us later. We do what's called a waiver or curriculum modification form, and then after about 5 or 7 days, it gets caught up. We usually do that at the end of the semester that you're taking the course, at the beginning of the following semester. So it's not essential that we get that curriculum modification course requirement done quickly, but we do need to make sure we get it done at some point. Once again, I cannot reinforce that you must take responsibility for your education. This happens to me almost every spring semester. I will get an email from a student. If they email me at the beginning of the semester, it works out great. If they don't, it becomes a lot more complicated. But I will get an email from a student. I got an email from a student a couple years ago. It was the Sunday before classes started. She emails me and she's like, I have 120 hours. I need 122 hours to graduate. I don't know how this happened. And I'm like, it happened because you were not paying attention to the hours you need. And she was freaking out. I was like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I said, you need to sign up for another class. And is what she did. And then she emailed me after she signed up for the class. And she said, I wanted to let you know I signed up for the class just to let you know I'm being proactive. That's not proactive to me. She had claimed that she was monitoring her DegreeWorks. Clearly, she had not been doing that. You've got to monitor this every semester. You've got to make sure these general education courses are met. You've got to make sure that you have the academic hours that you need. We will work with you. Often I will work with students with 1 to 2 to 3 credits of independent studies to ensure that you complete the number of hours you need to complete on time to graduate in May. But we can't really help you if you do not take responsibility for your education. The story that I give as an undergraduate student when I first transferred into UNCG, I had not declared a major. They had assigned me some random advisor, went to go see him, and I had my advising list courses I was going to take, and he and I started to kind of go back and forth over this course. He was trying to tell me this other course is what I need to take. Clearly, he didn't know what he was talking about, and I was trying to explain to him that I needed this course. He wouldn't relent, and so I kind of let him write it down. These were times when you had cards and you could sign them and pencil it in and erase it. And then when I left his office, I erased it and I put the right course in there. And what it really hit me was, this is a professor. He doesn't know how the system has changed. There's not a lot of changes that happen, but right now we're undergoing changes where some of you have 122 hours and some of you have 120 hours. So there's always small changes that happen. As faculty, we try to stay on top of that. As the director of the program, I'm more plugged with the systems that helps disseminate that information to me, but even then I miss that information. That DegreeWorks is not going to change. There'll be glitches where we may do an override and they may take it off, but that DegreeWorks that you have is not going to change. The courses that you need are going to be on there. The number of credit hours you need are going to be on there. And ultimately, you've got to take responsibility looking at that DegreeWorks, calculating the number of hours you have, calculating the number of hours you need, and making sure you have the number of hours you need to graduate and that you're meeting all the general education requirements that you need. If you're going to rely on us, you got to remember there's a handful of us who do advising, and we have 400 students in the major. So we cannot advise everybody perfectly, and you cannot rely on us to give you perfect 100% advising. You've got to go back, you got to look over this stuff, and you got to make sure you're meeting all the requirements that you need. You can come and meet with us to kind of double check on these things, but ultimately you have to take responsibility for your education. So, grade replacement. Students must have a 2.5 overall GPA to apply to the major. For students who do not meet this requirement, you have the option to increase your GPA with a grade replacement. Students are allowed up to 3 grade replacements while they're at UNCG. Grade replacements are handled through the Student First Office. So if you just Google Student First Office, UNCG, it'll pop up and it'll give you all the requirements for grade replacement, and it's an online form now for grade replacements. Students must retake the same course. It does not have to be with the same professor here at UNCG, so you cannot take a similar course at a different school. For example, if you take Political Science 200, which is American Politics, and you make a D in this course, you will need to take American Politics here at UNCG. It does not have to be the same professor, it just needs to be the same course. Once you retake this course and make a higher grade, this has changed a little bit, but you go to the Student First website. You don't have to print off the grade replacement form. It is now an online form, so you fill it out and you click submit, and it goes to the Student First office, and it generally takes about a week or two after the final grades are posted before your grade replacement shows up on your DegreeWorks. I'm telling you, grade replacements are one of the best ways to ensure and improving your GPA. So what that means is that you have an F in a class, you retake that class, you get an A or a B in that class, that's going to drastically change your GPA. So for some students, I've had them who are like a 2.0 GPA, done 1 or 2 grade replacements, and it pops them up to a 3.0 GPA. So grade replacements are a really good option. Grade replacements are not covered under financial aid, so you have to be a little bit creative when you're doing the grade replacement. Often what students will do is they will register for 4 classes to be classified as a full-time student, and then they will take the grade replacement as the 5th course to try to get it covered with financial aid. So minors are really good courses to take for students who are unsure about filling up some of your what are called free electives. Students generally have 15 hours of free electives while you're at the university. What that means is this is 15 hours in anything you want to take. You're at a university, you're at an institution of higher learning, you're interested in a religion course, a jazz course, a history course, a music course, philosophy course, whatever you're interested in, you have 15 hours of free electives that you can take that's left up to you. Some students usually become uncomfortable with that and they want a little bit more guidance. So most minors are 15 to 18 hours. I often encourage students to look at minors that are related to things that you're interested in, A lot of our students are interested in working with families and children will gravitate towards a human development family studies minor. A lot of students have really enjoyed taking that minor. If you're interested in doing clinical social work, often you will think of psychology. I really kind of steer students to look at communication studies and peace and conflict studies. If you look at some of the courses in communication studies, they have conflict communication, communication in the workplace, communication in community. Peace and conflict studies, same thing. They have interpersonal communication. They have interpersonal conflict in the workplace. They have cultural and conflict, especially if you're going to be working with immigrant refugee populations. I'm pretty partial to peace and conflict studies because it's a very flexible minor. They work really good with the classes. I work really closely with peace and conflict studies. I work with one or two professors over there. We do a lot of community projects together. And so the peace and conflict studies has always been a really good courses for students to take. The reason I encourage you to look at communication studies and peace and conflict studies, if you're thinking about doing clinical social work, is above something like psychology. Psychology is great. It's very theoretical. Peace and conflict studies and communication studies are very skills-based courses. So what that means is these are skills that you're going to get, that you're going to be able to work with while you're doing social work in the field, especially the conflict in the workplace, because a lot of the conflicts that come up with students in their internships, not necessarily with their peers, although that happens, it's usually conflicts with supervisors, conflicts with clients. You usually can handle those pretty well. But these are skills-based courses, and they're skills that can help you, and you're gaining skills that you can pass on to the clients you work in or work with later on. So that's why I usually encourage students to look at peace and conflict studies or communication studies. If you're interested in working in the aging population, there's a minor in gerontology. There's minors in women and gender studies, African diaspora studies. These are also great minors to work with. There's a large number of minors that you can choose from. You can do what's called a what-if analysis. I can't show you here now, of course, but if you go to DegreeWorks, there's a what-if analysis, and it gives you an idea that you can kind of tinker around, like, what if I decide to choose a minor in such and such? So if you are wanting to have a little bit more guidance with these free electives that you have, minors are often something that you want to look at. So the social work 400 level electives, some of you may still have 500 level electives listed on there. Most likely not. They're 400 level electives. So students are required to take two 400 level upper level electives in the social work program. So if you look at DegreeWorks, you have the 411, 413, all those listed, and then you have two 400 level electives. So I am pretty flexible. We've tried to be pretty flexible with these. So some students may consider other options for their 400 level electives. So for students who are obtaining a minor or a second major, we will consider counting one of your upper level courses from your minor or major to count towards one of your upper level social work electives. So you must receive prior approval for this, and you must meet with the BSW director during the semester you're taking the course that you can do a waiver to make sure this course counts. So what that means is, don't just assume, just because I told one student, hey, you can take this Human Development Family Studies 300 level course to count for your upper level elective, then I'm going to count that course to you. That student may be getting a minor in Human Development Family Studies. You may not be. That course may not be relevant to you. You probably want to take it because it's online and it's easy for your schedule. So we want students who are looking at courses in other programs to count for your upper level electives. So we're also not wanting to restrict students to just our upper level electives. So sociology offers a course called Drugs and Society. I think public health offers a course that's related to substance use, and I think even psychology does one. So you may wind up wanting to take Drugs and Society. We have several students who wind up taking Drugs and Society, the sociology course, and then taking our substance use course because they're interested in doing substance use treatment down the road. So if you stumble on the Drugs and Society course and you're interested in taking that course, then by all means, we're going to allow you to take that. You just need to get prior approval from us before you take that course. And that's the same with other courses. I think sociology also has a marriage and family course. So just be kind of creative, especially as you get in your senior year. Look in sociology, look in peace and conflict studies, look at human development family studies. Some of the human development family studies upper level courses have prerequisites that minors can get into that you may not be able to get into. Maybe look at gerontology courses, African American, African diaspora studies, women and gender studies. I mean, we're pretty flexible with these courses, especially if they're related to something you're interested in doing. So I just want you to have kind of in your mind as you move into your senior year, we have options in upper level courses. If you're a school social work student, you're going to have to take the school social work upper level social work elective. We do have some really good upper level social work courses like substance use and social services with the children. But you will probably want to think about some courses and other programs to count towards your upper level elective. So plagiarism. All this right here on this slide is plagiarized. I went to the website and you can see the link right there and cut and pasted it directly. That's just kind of an example of what you're not supposed to do. So just to kind of give you an idea, we all use Canvas as an online platform for students to upload their papers. If you have been at another institution, such as Guilford Tech or another four-year institution, when I was at Guilford College, we used an online platform called Moodle. And so Canvas has a program called Turnitin. And what that does is when you submit the paper, it scours the internet, and anything that you have plagiarized, basically anything that you have taken and copied and pasted and used as your own words and have not properly referenced that with quotation marks and with a notification of where you got this from, we really expect students to use the APA formatting style when doing references. It's going to give the professor an alert, and it's going to let the professor know that you have copied and pasted this from somewhere else. Now, the reason I talk about these other online platforms is the Turnitin program will do one of two things. So if you've gone to a website or if you've taken an article from a research journal and you've copied and pasted something directly, Turnitin is going to tell us exactly where that's from. So let's say you were at another institution and you wrote a similar paper and you uploaded it to whatever online platform that other institution has. It is now a part of the internet and the World Wide Web. And so let's say you have a class and it's a similar assignment and you say, you know what, I'm just going to take paper that I submitted and I'm going to submit it to the social work class. What will happen, it's somewhat insidious, but what will happen is Turnitin will flag it as a paper that has been turned in at another institution. So what that means is it won't tell us where, I think it'll tell us what institution, but it won't tell us who turned it in. And so if it's taken from a website or if it's taken from an article, it will tell us where it's taken from. But if it's a similar paper that's been uploaded at a university in Kansas and it's the same paper or has a lot of the same sources to it, it will let us know that a similar paper has been submitted to that other university. One of the reasons they do that is, of course, there are a multitude of online sources where you can pay somebody to write a paper for you and they will give it to you and you can turn it as an assignment. Of course, other people are doing that too. This is more common in English classes. And so you're thinking you're buying a unique paper to submit. These sketchy places are selling these papers to other people. They're all uploading them to online platforms now, and Turnitin is catching them and then the next thing you know it, you have been caught for plagiarism. Our role in the social work department is to take a more kind of restorative approach when we catch students who have plagiarized, which means we will sit down and we will work with you. The university's policy, and that's the link on here, the university's policy is it is at the discretion of the faculty, but they really would encourage us to take a more educational approach to this. So we kind of take a very restorative approach. We sit down with students. What's been going on? Why did you do this? What happened? We may have you take like an online test about plagiarism and print up a certificate. You get a lower grade on the paper, and then you have to redo it or have to do another assignment. If we have a second or third offense, then we start to move towards the code of conduct violation through the university. But we really like to try to handle this in department. Initially, if we go through the code of conduct route with the university, it gets placed on your permanent record as having a code of conduct violation. We'd prefer not to do that if we can help it, but if you do this more than a couple of times, and it's definitely going to go the route of code of conduct. So we just want you to kind of be aware that every time you submit a paper in, that program Turn It In checks that and cross-references with all these other papers and journal articles and websites and stuff like that, and will let us know if the paper has been plagiarized in some way. Okay, so email etiquette. We take this very seriously. Social work is a professional program. Some of us are a little bit more informal in our emails as faculty, but we do expect students to be professional in their emails. This first one is check 3 before me. There has become, and it's not, I get really frustrated because people will blame it on a generational thing. I don't think it's a generational thing. I think it is a sense of learned helplessness because I've had older non-traditional students who do this also. But students will email me with inane questions that if you just Google it or look it up yourself, you will be able to find this information. And I will get email information or email questions from students from things that are on our websites in the BSW handbook. And I know that you get inundated with a lot of information, and sometimes it's confusing to navigate this stuff. Most things you can just Google and find it. I got an email from a potential student from a community college who was asking if they could do the program. I think it was on night and online. And of course, I emailed back with the link to our website, which clearly states that we're not an online program and we're not a program that offers courses primarily at night. And so I know that for a lot of times we think like, oh yeah, I'm just going to reach out to the person, but really do your research before you do this. Check 3 before me check 3 different sources. Ask a classmate, look in a syllabus, look in the BSW handbook, Google it, look on our website. We get inundated with emails, and a lot of them really do have mundane questions. I had sent out information about UNC Chapel Hills has started a new 20-month kind of an advanced standing program. It was a flyer that Chapel Hill had sent me. I had sent this out, and a student asked me, I actually had a couple of students email me, ask me questions about this program, and I had to email them back. It's like, I'm not at UNC Chapel Hill. There's clearly an email link in the flyer that I sent you. This is where you need to direct your questions for. So I know it's really easy. We're kind of in that text message mode of, hey, I'm going to email you, respond quickly and give me that response. I get 140 emails in my inbox, and I don't have time, and it really clogs up my emails. So I really want you, if you can't find the information, you have a challenge with the information, you really are struggling to find that answer, by all means, please email us and ask us this. But most of the stuff you could probably just Google it, look on the UNCG website, look in the UNCG student handbook, and you can find this information. This, of course, has the kind of expectations that we have in relation to how you construct emails to faculty. We really want you to kind of follow this. We're doing this for a couple reasons. One is just respectful for us, but also you're getting ready to go into field for some of you, or volunteer placements, and you want to make sure when you're scheduling an appointment or communicating back and forth with a potential supervisor that you comport yourself professionally. If you're very informal or glib in the email, the person may look at that and go, I'm not so sure this person's going to be professional enough for this program. You also want to be succinct in the email. Don't be very verbose and long-winded. We get a lot of emails, and so when you're writing thesis link emails and 3 or 4 paragraph emails, a lot of times we just don't have time to look through that. So you want to be very direct and to the point, and you really wanted us to know what it is that you're trying to communicate to us. You have to remember, as I said, we have 400 students in the program. So what that means, and another example of this is a student had come met with me, I think this was a couple years ago. We sat down, we had a conversation. I had agreed to maybe do a waiver for a class. And then out of the blue, it's probably like 5 months later, the student emailed me, very short, terse email about, hey, do this, this, and this. And I emailed her back and I said, this is actually what you need to do. And her response to me literally was, what has changed since the last time we met? I can't remember the last time I met with a student, and so I had to kind of let her know that, you've got to be clear in this emails. Don't just assume that I'm going to remember our conversation, because I have students coming in and out of my office all day. I have emails coming in and out all the time. And so I'm not going to remember the details, the small details about emails. So when you're writing me an email, hey, I want to follow up. We talked about X, Y, and Z. Is this still okay? Or when will you be able to do this? And so just make sure you're clear and succinct and to the point and professional. It's helpful for us if you add your UNCG ID number. It's not essential. We won't freak out. But it is helpful for us if you add your UNCG ID number in the email, because that's the quickest way to look your information up. Generally, what I do is when a student emails me the question, I immediately pull up their DegreeWorks, because that tells me everything I pretty much need to know. Sometimes hyphenated names, or if you had a name change, it's a little bit harder to find you in the DegreeWorks search engine. UNCG ID number, we can always find you. I would discourage you from not putting your UNCG ID number in your signature. It is a sensitive number. So you send an email, you can add it, but I would discourage you to not have that in your signature, because most of you, your UNC Genie account is your UNCG ID number and your 6-digit birth date, because you haven't changed that. So there's a lot of sensitive information on UNC Genie, and if you have that as your signature and you're sending that out to multiple different people, a person who is savvy enough can probably figure out what your PIN code is to log into your UNC Genie, and they can find your address, your phone numbers, and a lot of other sensitive information that you don't want them to find out. So you can add it in the email for us as a courtesy, but I would not put it in your signature.